Hey there, listeners. Have you ever thought about the fear of failure? You know what? That terminology is actually widespread. In fact, it actually affects individuals across all walks of life. That thing called the fear of failure can actually get in the way and stop personal and professional growth. So, how do you overcome this? Well, it's really quite crucial for you to understand the origins, in other words, where it comes from, and then just develop some strategies to overcome it. So let's discuss.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome to the Ask Dennis episode. This is a freestyle episode where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts, experiences, and insights from working with many leaders around the globe. Well, I want to welcome you to today's episode, the fear of failure. Hey, look, this comes up a lot in my change programs or in my coaching sessions, and in particular, that word fear. So what does the word fear actually mean? Well, for a lot of people, they use it in different terminologies or different ways, and when they're talking about it from a motivational perspective. The one that I tend to use is, if you think about FEAR in the word fear, false evidence appearing real. So what this suggests is that many of the things we fear are not truly threatening or dangerous, but are instead based on the misconceptions or our perceptions. Now, if you can recognize this, then what you can do is you can better manage and overcome your fears. As I said earlier on in my introduction, the fear of failure is widespread. It can affect individuals from all walks of life. And in fact, it can actually stop personal and professional growth. So what we're going to be working on, talking about today, is how you understand where it may come from, but also to develop strategies to actually overcome it. Now, whether you're a student that's worried about an exam or an entrepreneur launching a new business, you might be a professional taking on a challenging project, and the fear of failure can be paralyzing. This fear can actually limit growth. It can actually stop creativity or reduce creativity and prevent us from reaching our full potential. So if you can understand the roots of this fear, learning the strategies to overcome it, then you're in good stead, you're on a good track, you're on the good path. So let's understand the fear of failure. This is also known as atikiphobia. Wow, got that word out. Atikiphobia. This is an intense dread of not achieving a desired outcome. That's what the fear of failure is also known as. Now, the fear can actually stem from various sources itself. One area it could actually stem from is people trying to be the perfectionist. The belief that anything less than perfect is unacceptable. Another area is around previous experiences. So you may have some previous experiences around past failures, and they may actually leave a lasting impression on you. And that can then turn into creating a mental barrier against trying again. Another area could be around society pressure. The pressure to succeed. You're driven by society's standards and expectations, and that can amplify the fear of failing. What I wanted to say here is I think there could be a culture pressure too. So if you think about the film Bend It Like Beckham, right? You have a young Indian girl who wants to play football, and here she is, and she's scared of what the family don't want her to play because what people in the community might think about them. So that is an example of it. Self-identity. So people often tie their self-worth to their achievements. Now, making failure seem like a direct attack on their identity. The same thing could be around somebody who's been made redundant. Their whole identity is around the title that they had, the organization they belonged to, the job that they did. But you know what? They have the fear of failure there because they feel like they have failed if they've been made redundant and no longer doing their job. So what's the impact of fear of failure? Because you see, it can manifest in numerous ways. Procrastination, delaying tasks to avoid potential failure. In other words, I'm going to put things off. I'm not going to go there. And then you're actually staying away from the potential of failure. Being a perfectionist again, setting up unrealistically high standards that may be nearly impossible to meet. Low self-esteem. If you have a constant fear of failure, that can actually impact your self-confidence. Avoidance. Steering clear of new challenges or opportunities that might result in failure. Stress and anxiety. A constant worry about failing can actually lead to chronic stress and anxiety, which will impact what? It will impact your overall well-being. And it's something you need to think about and be aware of and be careful of too, because stress and anxiety can actually impact you and your well-being. So how do we overcome the fear of failure? Well, there are some strategies that I want to talk to you about. In fact, there's actually quite a few of them, so I'm going to go through them. Number one would be reframe failure. What a cool way to say it. Shift your perspective on failure. Instead of viewing it as a negative outcome, see it as a learning opportunity. So each failure is going to provide you valuable lessons that contribute to growth and improvement. Number two is set realistic goals. You know what? I think that if you can establish achievable and incremental goals, that's going to be a good thing. But if you can break down larger tasks into smaller, manageable steps, then you can make that prospect of failure less daunting, right? But don't get caught up on this thing called SMART goals. A lot of people tend to hide or use it as an excuse not to set goals. When I say set realistic goals, set them. But you know what? Keep it simple. Yes, you want it to be, as they call, big, hairy, audacious goals in the sense that they're actually scary for you to do because it's challenging for you to go and strive somewhere. But you know what? Don't get hung up about SMART goals. It'll work out. You will work through it. Number three is embrace imperfection. Accept that perfection is unattainable. You're not going to get there. So focus on progress rather than perfection. Celebrate the small victories and learn from setbacks. In fact, get on with it and just do it, because as you go, you will grow as you do it. As an example, that is this podcast we decided to launch, go. Told the guys I needed to launch in a week and a half's time. They were like, what? Never done that before. And so it's really important to do that. And we grew as we did it. Big learning curve for me? Oh yeah, huge. And I learned a lot from it. Number four, develop resilience along the way. See how I didn't say, hey, be resilient? Because you develop it along the way as you go on the journey. And you can start to do that by adapting a growth mindset. And so the mindset helps in viewing challenges and opportunities for growth. Number five, seek support. Surround yourself with supportive people who encourage and motivate you. If you can share your fears and experiences with others, then they're going to provide you possibly with some new perspectives and help alleviate the burden of fear. Number six is practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Acknowledge your efforts and be forgiving of your mistakes. See, if you can reduce the harsh self-criticism, and what I talk about the inner critic, the thing going on in between, the voice going on between your ears. That sometimes can accompany the fear of failure. So if you can actually be kind to yourself and don't be as harsh on yourself as others, because others won't be, then just move forward from there. Number seven is visualize success. This is a big one. Use positive visualization techniques to imagine successful outcomes. Most people have got the fear of failure and they start to think about the negative outcomes. Start thinking and visualizing and imagine successful outcomes. This will help you build your confidence and reduce anxiety about potential failures. Number eight is take action. The best way to overcome fear is to confront it head on. In other words, run to the fire. Take small steps towards your goals and start to gradually increase the level of the challenge as you move forward. Because you see, each step forward starts to diminish the power of fear. The fear of failure, it's natural. It's a common experience, as I said before, but it doesn't have to be a roadblock. Because if you can actually understand its origins and implement strategies to help manage it and overcome it, then you can start to unlock your potential and achieve your goals. If you can embrace failure as part of the journey towards success, that in turn is going to allow you to grow, learn, and become that leader that's a lot more resilient. Remember, failure is not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone on the path to achievement. Hey, listeners, your call to action is to download the 10 Ways to Lead in Today's World. There is a PDF that's available for you. It's a guide that has 42 strategic insights as well, and it's in the show notes. So if you go to the show notes, there's a link there. We've put a link there for you to click on and for you to download that actual PDF, that guide. Hey, listeners, that's it for this episode. It's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for joining me on the Leadership is Changing podcast. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.